Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello dear learners, welcome to this online course on writing skills. I am Dr. Divya Gupta, an assistant professor at GLA University, Mathura. Today we are going to start with an informal letter writing. Now the question may arise to all my dear learners, where you would think that in this techno-savvy age, when everyone is drafting emails and they are searching several other avenues like Instagram, social media, Facebook to communicate with other people, why letter writing is important? What is the dire need of letter writing? For this I would like to add on that just go through the letters of Jawaharlal Nehru. Letters from father to her daughter. When he was behind the bars in 1929, he wrote a letter. Few letters were compiled together for her daughter, and they were the permanent record, authentic record of what were going on at that time. In the same way, we may find several other precious letters. The record is really very interesting and very important. I would like to tell you, all my dear learners, that your brain is a powerful organ. But unlike motorbike, it is not completely mechanical. With this lecture, you will get some interesting ideas where you will learn how to correlate all these intellectual power with some outer knowledge and content that I am going to provide over here. Further, I would like to tell you that in this lecture, all my dear learners, you will learn after this presentation, after this course, you will learn, develop an understanding of the formats and the content, the difference between formal and informal letter writing. You will be able to analyze the prospects of letter drafting in professional arena, because it has become the first and foremost requirement nowadays. I will make my learners aware about the importance and need of the role of letter writing in different domains like academics, social, professional, economic and political background. In this course, you all will learn the introduction. First of all, we will go through introduction to formal and informal letters, their key differences, formats and principles of informal letter writing, their implications and specific rules of writing numbers in letter writing. All of you, my dear learners, believe me that English is ever changing. It's not the same pattern, the same style that we were using in ancient period is prevalent nowadays. No. That the Victorian verbosity and the formal English of the earlier days has passed or has paved way for the young learners with the new content, with the new style, which is brevity, conciseness and unambiguous style of writing. So in this case, we learn one by one everything that is really very important while learning informal letter writing. You might have heard about a slogan which Bacon said. Francis Bacon, who was a famous essayist, he said, "Reading maketh a full man, conference a ready man, and writing an exact man." In the same way, if we are going to concentrate on a writing part, it's not very difficult to be a perfect and effective writer. Each and every field requires it's quite mandatory to have a good writing skill. When we talk about LSRW, listening, speaking, reading and writing skills, it's not one day process. You cannot build a Rome in a day. You have to go persistently, continuously working on your writing skills. Now in this case I would like to add that from the childhood that seed is actually sown, where you must learn how to sow that seed of reading first of all. More you learn, the more you get the ideas. And in a very famous verb, I would like to tell you about a very beautiful line that a writer needs three things. What are they? Three things that are experience. The experience matters a lot. Then good observation. You must have a very good observation. And further, you must have a very nice imagination. So with all these three things, everyone can be a perfect writer. With this note, we shall move further towards what is letter writing. When we generally say about letters, it is a kind of conversation that goes on between two parties, sender and receiver. So it's a kind of communication between two parties. That is, letter is the only device for combining solitude with good company, that is given by Lord Byron. Again I would like to tell you, talk about several great writers, several great politicians, freedom fighters behind the bars. While staying behind the bars, they have written long narratives. They have written letters describing the details. And finally, people who are there in solitude, they have composed a wonderful presentation, their writing skills. And obviously, Letters from Father to His Daughter is a collection of letters written by Jawaharlal Nehru to his daughter Indira Gandhi in the year 1929, Allahabad Law Journal Press. Now, with this I would like to add, because continuously I was just adding up and telling you about the importance of letter writing, my most important thing that you all should remember, that letter writing, without that kind of skill you would not be able to proceed further, because you must have that kind of skill of developing the idea. Development of idea with good grammar skills, vocabulary skills, you must have the good concession. Concession means like you must have the ability to fill up lot of ideas in a single phrase. So in that case, all these things matter a lot. With this, I would like to quote few more famous letters from the historical past. They are really very important and auctioned every now and then at a very high rate, at a very high price. It clearly indicates that how these letters are very important. I would like to add on in this case that Albert Einstein's letter was auctioned at a very high price recently, where he discussed about the Second World War, and about Adolf Hitler. Then further, I would like to quote on that letter writing in this case, moving further, Alice Walker, The Colour Purple, Marcus Rashford, To All MPs in Parliament, Tom Courtenay, Dear Tom, Letters from Home, James Baldwin, The Fire Next Time, Martin Luther King Jr., Letters from Birmingham Jail, Rainer Maria Rilke, Letters to a Young Poet. All the works that we generally go through, they are actually a collection of all the ideas that come through piece of writing, bits and bits piece of writing combined together to form up a very magnificent work for you people to read. So letter writing once again is one of the most pervasive literate activities. Letter writing is one of the most pervasive literate activities in human societies, crossing formal and informal context. This particular definition was given by Barton D. along with N. Hall in the year 2000. we have already discussed the utility of letter writing. Further, just exaggerating my point of view and highlighting the basic features, I would like to add conveying messages and news is the first and foremost priority of letter writing. Then giving advice, congratulating the recipient, requesting information, asking questions. So, all these things comes in the letter writing. When you talk about application for leave, when you talk about application for scholarship, you congratulate your friend on his selection in IAS or IPS, then you go for congratulating the people, messages, all these things come in under this broad umbrella. So, under the aegis of letter writing, you will learn how to grow, develop day by day. Further, we will come across about the differences between formal and informal letter writing. When we talk about formal and informal, there are two categories, right? We have two categories over here, formal and informal. Now, in this case, the word in itself clearly indicates the formal letters have to proceed with some kind of fixed idea and specific objective in mind, whereas informal letters are written to friends and relatives for personal connection and communication that requires a casual or emotional tone. When we talk about formal letter writing, it will be written to somebody who is elder to you, who is at a very high position, and which is written with a professional purpose. The size, when we talk about the word limit, in formal letters we have a fixed word limit where the size should be concise, which should not exceed, like a long 3-4 pages letter is not required when we talk about formal letter writing. It should comprise 1 to the points actually, like it should highlight only the basic points. Size should be concise, that does not include irrelevant matters. That means, like, we do not want beating around the bush, we do not want any kind of information that is irrelevant, just go to the main point directly. Whereas informal letter writing, it is quite lengthier. You can write 3 or 4 pages maybe describing your trip to Jaipur or describing your journey or from childhood to the trip to particular place where you are right now, maybe in IIT Kanpur. So, that would be the long journey which will clearly indicate that, oh, this man has lot of things to describe. So, in this case it could be a lengthier one. Then further we move up to further differences between formal and informal. When we talk about formal letters, they are written to partners, to suppliers, to customers, clients, and then to college institute, employer, then professionals. Formal letters are very sophisticated, should have a very sophisticated and rich language, whereas informal letters are written to friends, relatives, acquaintance, etc. Now, while talking about the language aspect, basically we have to learn that there are few nuances where you have to work out. There are no contradictions, or there are, you can say, no contractions are allowed in formal letters. No contractions means didn't. When I talk about didn't, this is not at all required. Then if I say she's, this is not done. All these things should be avoided. Okay. Then further we move up to contractions. While talking about informal vowels, we can definitely use these contractions. Freely, you can use freely all those contractions, and in formal category you have to use an expanded words. Then further moving up to idioms and phrases. While talking about formal letters, we are not supposed to use idioms. Suppose if I say the denotative and connotative meanings are different, and when I say it's not the bed of roses, the task is very difficult, or an Herculean task. So, all these idioms are not required in formal writing. While talking about informal ones, you can definitely use these idioms like under the weather, cup of like roses or bed of roses or cup of cake or maybe like that. Then while talking about phrasal verbs, obviously informal you have to use for example like in informal category we say discover, increase, and in this category also we can avoid using the phrasal language again. While talking about imperatives, we all must know that direct narration is not allowed. When we talk about imperatives, you may send, for example, if I give an instance about it, you may send it at your earliest convenience. You may send it at your earliest convenience. So, this is written in formal letters, whereas in informal you can very easily write send it soon without having any kind of courtesy or without having any kind of like formalities behind it. So, this is what these were the certain rules that we must concentrate while writing a formal and informal letters. Further, we will come across some other rules. Now, I would like to add few more examples like this. For example, strongly. In formal letters, we generally say I strongly believe, whereas in informal, we generally say very, really, totally. Some adjectives could be used like this. Further, moving up to furthermore and moreover, they will be used in formal category, whereas in informal category, we use to top of it all, on top of it all. Then moving up to the next category, we are talking about abbreviations. In formal categories, we are not supposed to use abbreviations. For example, television will be written as it is, and in informal category, you can use TV. Then there would be no exclamatory mark, much and many could be used for certain some expressions, whereas in informal category, you can use exclamatory mark, and for many things you can say I have a lot of work pressure right now. So, a lot of. Much and many could be used in formal category. Then one very important point, we can use Latin based words or uncommon words in formal letters, whereas in informal category we can use non-Latin words and common words. So, these are the basic differences between formal and informal letter writing. Then we talk about some useful phrases, and I have taken this particular formal and informal distinction from Professor Nitin Bhatnagar 2010 from his book Effective Communication on Language and Engineers. So, in this formal language and informal letters, they both have a difference in their approach. Remember, when we talk about formal letters, it must have please confirm the recipient of. In a very sophisticated language, you talk about that. Then you talk about, if you talk about informal category, what will happen? You will say, let me know when you get. So, when you get some time. Further, we are pleased to confirm. Now, in this condition, we are pleased. I am talking about not I am talking about we as a firm. So, we are pleased to confirm. Then I am happy to tell you. I am happy to tell you, that is I am happy to intimate you or to tell you. So, remember in informal you use personal pronouns. Please accept our apologies. Now, in this informal type we use I am sorry that I am late for the lecture. So, in this condition what happens? In formal category your language becomes sophisticated, right. It is not that colloquial language. Same we are having certain other examples. We are writing to advise and suggest. I am waiting for your letter, messages, etc. Then unfortunately, we will have to postpone. This is a formal way of dealing with things. Unfortunately, we will have to postpone. I am sorry I can't attend. It is a straightforward saying or depiction of anything. Kindly inform us at the earliest. Let me know as soon as. So, the basic difference that you have to use is or remember is use of personal pronouns. Personal pronouns and especially I. Okay. So, these are the basic differences between formal and informal way of dealing with things. Further, now the question may arise, we have already discussed the importance, we have already discussed the utility, their differences. Now how are we going to proceed? How are we going to start writing? For this I would like to add or tell you that you people must have a content in your brain. You must read a lot, and while reading just concentrate on vocabulary, just concentrate on the ideas that you have. Now with those ideas you must prepare your brain, that is pre-writing work. Now after that pre-writing work you must have the idea of the format. Now which kind of format are you going to follow? Now in this case I would like to add that there is a basic format which all of you must follow in informal letter writing. Since it is written to one of your relatives, to somebody who is close to you, somebody who is like near and dear one to you, so in that case there has to be some congeniality. Now in this case we move further and we will talk about the format. First of all, we will follow the left align pattern. As if you can see over here that in this particular example that I am going to quote right now, you can very easily see that this is left align. Everything is left align. Now in this condition, if I talk about the address, this particular address is actually the address of the addressee, the person who is drafting the mail. After this we write date, and after this, after writing the date, in formal letters we generally use subject as well, but while talking about informal category we write address of the addressee, then date, and then salutation. This one is salutation, dear Muskan or something like that, dear father, and after that body of the letter, that is the whole content. Further, in this case result has proved. Now this is the body of the letter, the whole thing, and last, with lots of love and wishes, this is complimentary close, and with this complimentary close this thing ends up. Now look at this, dear Muskan is a salutation. So these are several parts where we talk about informal letter writing. So first of all we learn to write address, then date, then salutation, body of the letter, and then further complimentary close. So this is a raw, or you can say a beginning to or the first step towards letter writing learning. Now I would like to proceed further, delving deep into the knowledge, and in this case I would like to give few more examples that how these things are written. Now as if I told you that it will be written on the left hand side, because this is a block format which we generally follow. We will take up all these three formats: block format, semi-formal and semi-indented modified format later on. Now we will go on with address. Address will be on left hand side, and even writing to close friends and relatives, the address must be written. Remember, the address must be written so that they can reply back to the letter with ease. So what is the purpose of writing an address? Like suppose Dr. Divya is writing a letter to somebody. So what will happen in that condition? I would write my own address over here on the left hand side so that any person could respond me. That is the purpose of writing an address on left hand side first of all. Then if the recipient of the letter is in another country, please do not forget to write the country's name, everyone. Then we move up to the date. Now date is most of the time people worry about writing dates. What is the pattern of writing date? Okay. While writing dates, choose a clear format, because British pattern says something else and American pattern of writing the dates is something else. When we talk about 4/7/2022, it would be written, it would be considered April 7 in USA, whereas July 4 in England. So that makes the difference between American and British pattern of writing the dates. So everyone, because we generally follow the British pattern, keep that in mind that we must try to spell out the name of the month to avoid such ambiguity. 7th April 2022 or April 7, 2022. It will be like this. Then moving further, the concept of dates is clear, how to write date. Then we talk about greeting, how to greet. Dear Alex, dear so, dear mom, dear father, or so this is like dear mom, dear Alex. So these are the patterns through which we should proceed. And Mr. and Mrs. like say for example, you were writing a congratulatory note or letter to your teacher, it can be addressed as dear Mrs. Alex. So in this case, when you are talking about or talking to somebody who is near to you, but elder to you as well, and giving them respect, we can write dear Mrs. Alex, because since you are talking about your teacher. So it is not necessary that you cannot write an informal letter to your teacher as well, but this is quite agreeable. Then we talk about introductory paragraph. Now when we talk about introductory paragraph, the idea clicks to your brain is how are you? I hope that you are in pink of your health, and then you can proceed further. Basically the actual writing begins from this place and it sets the tone of the writing, the whole letter. One may begin at asking the recipient about how are you, about the well-being, about about his good health or team spirit or great spirit. The opening of informal letter decides the tone, the way you are trying to approach the person. For example, how have you been? I hope my letter finds you in best of your health and spirits. It's been a while since I have heard from you. Where have you been? I hope this letter finds you in the best of your health. How has this life been treating you? Suppose you are writing after a long time and you get to know that this person has recently acclaimed or recently gained some new parameters or some new horizons, touched the horizons right now. So you would like to congratulate that person. In that condition, it really becomes very easy for you to understand that how to begin. So it is a very beautiful line. How has life been treating you? I am writing you this letter to tell you how proud I am of you. And then you can proceed about congratulating that person and telling about the ins and outs of your well-being as well, so that like you can tell and introduce yourself in a very proper manner. Now moving further, body of the letter. After the introductory line, you should proceed about the body of the letter, where you should write the actual content. Okay, because once you understood about the introductory part, you can very easily proceed further. Now friendly tone is the first and foremost dominant feature over here, because but definitely language depends on the same thing. If you are writing to your friend, obviously it will be having a friendly tone, but a very casual and flippant cannot be afforded. Flippant language cannot be afforded. But if he is elder to you, maybe like elder relative, or then in that condition you have to extremely respectful and considerate as well. So tone of your letter fixes, or you can say is fixed on the basis of normal relation with that person. Which kind of relationship that you carry? The very easy way of learning this thing is just think about interacting with that person in your brain or in your solitude, that how would you interact with that person. The same kind of thing will come in letter writing as well. But you must have a very clear vision in your brain, that is for sure. So till now we have learnt all these things. An informal letter format, at the end we write conclusion. In this conclusive paragraph, you sum up everything, sum up the reason for writing, and reason for writing, that is summarize the letter. Say a meaningful and affectionate goodbye to your friends. So in that condition what you can do is, you can write very easily that give my regards to uncle and aunt, and it clearly indicates that you want that intention, or you have the intention to continue this kind of interaction with this person. You have that kind of feeling to develop the connectivity. For this I would like to add few more examples. I hope we can, for example, I hope we can start a correspondence here and meet soon one day. Hope you fulfill your dreams. Remember, sky's the limit. Give my regards to uncle and aunt, that I already told you. Hope to see you soon. My parents and elder sisters have sent lots of love and heartiest congratulations. With lots of love and best wishes. So, these are few like you can say, these are few kind of like conclusive notes or conclusive paragraphs that adds one more feather to your writing skills, because these are the fixed patterns where you can excellently perform in a perfect manner. Last but not the least, complementary clause is again a very important thing. Don't forget that you people are writing this particular letter to somebody who is near to you, and that means that you have to use that kind of like intimate ending. And in this case, lots of love, best wishes, kind regards, kindly. So, we can choose anyone out of it. We can choose anyone out of it which is really very much applicable while talking about these type of letters. Then marks allocation, which is very important, because many students say that, ma'am, I have written already like very nice thing, but at the end of the day I have not received a good performance, or my result is not that good. Because you must know the allocation, marks allocation, how are these marks are allocated. You must have that kind of vision that the sender's address, date, receiver's address, subject heading, salutation, complimentary clause, all these things they carry 1 mark. Then content, whatever you are writing will be of 3 marks. And expression, when you talk about grammatical accuracy, when you talk about appropriateness of words, your vocabulary, your spelling, then coherence and relevance of ideas and style, everything compiles together and will fetch 2 marks for you. So, that is in the same manner. If it is of 10 marks, that will be allocated accordingly, according to the percentile. And while talking about if it is of 6 marks, the whole marks distribution will be like that. So, be ready with this marks allocation part as well, so that you can prepare yourself very well, that if the content is missing, you can very easily get, or if the format is missing, you can very easily get all these things on the basis of content, expression and format. Further moving up to the next idea. Next idea, there are few points which everyone should pay attention to. Many people, many students, many learners, writers, they commit several errors without knowing it, without having any idea about it. So, in this case, we must know that we should recheck, that is post writing work. We should recheck for all the grammatical accuracies, spellings, and because they play a very integral role in marking scheme. Like if you go on with scribbling at the beginning of the letter, what will happen? This will lead a very negative impact. Or if you commit some kind of error, for example, he don't know the answer. Now, what's wrong in that? He doesn't know the answer. You should have the grammatical accuracy while writing any kind of piece of work, whether it be letter, notice, article, report, anything. So, you must recheck it. This is very important. And then further, adequate number of lines between paragraphs and make it neat and look neat. We should remember that if you are formatting, or if you are following the block format, it must have the clear vision that after address leave 1 line spacing, then after 1 line spacing write date, and then further salutation again 1 line spacing. So, you should proceed with 1 line spacing everywhere. Keep that in your mind that you cannot proceed without using a proper format. So, a clear gap or a neat performance or a neat writing skill will fetch good marks for you. Now, at the end you should underline the main points. In informal letters, obviously, informal letters you should underline the main points. Suppose if I am trying to apply for some kind of proposal, and that proposal has already been accepted few days back, but due to corona you could not do it. So, what will you do if you write again a letter? You will try to write down the points, but at the end you will write this, since this proposal was accepted earlier in the year 2022 or 2021, due to corona we were not able to perform well or conduct the program. Kindly consider this proposal once again, reconsider it. So, I will underline that part, because this is a re-proposal. This is again like proposal once it was accepted. In this condition, you should underline the main points, because no one has the time to read out through and through word by word all the things. Go to the main point, the gist of your letter. Then further, presentation is again a very important point. You should have a good like letter writing skills, you should have good grammatical knowledge, vocabulary, everything should be there. Last but not the least, read a lot of letters to get an idea. Now I would like to recommend that you should go through John Keats' letters. John Keats' letters and novelist Samuel Richardson. If you talk about John Keats' letters, he has written a very nice work where he has composed or he has come up with these works, and it's a clear vision where John Keats has compiled all his letters to form up a very good poem. Then further, novelist Samuel Richardson has compiled his letters and given the description of his lifestyle. So obviously these letters are the glimpse, you can say the window to their lifestyle. Informal letter topics, generally we used to get these topics: inviting a friend, advising a friend, apologizing to a friend, then thanking a friend for spending the holiday together, reminding a friend, then congratulating him, then requesting for help, admitting a mistake. So all these things compile together to form up these informal writing categories. Then we move up to the letter writing. This we have already discussed, that how can we write a letter. This with a note of learning the format, we have already done this. Then without wasting much time, we will move further towards certain nuances that we have to pay attention. There is the huge difference of what we know and what actual grammar is. When we talk about writing numbers, there are few points that you have to keep in mind, that while writing letters, do not write numbers at the beginning of a sentence. For example, if I say 3 students were selected from this class, this is incorrect. Using 3 at the beginning of the letter is incorrect, while using that one in a word form is perfectly fine. Numerical form, it is wrong. But talking about another example, 1789 is an important year in European history. In this case, 1789 very clearly indicates that you cannot write 1789, that will create a havoc, that won't look nice. So this one is wrong. You cannot write like this, but this one is correct, 1789. Now moving further in the text, spell out the numbers if they are made up of 1 or 2 words. For example, 99 will be written in the word form, 100, but 147 will be written in numerals. Obviously, you cannot write 147, 147 will again look odd. So you have to remember all these things, that if the numbers are made up of 1 or 2 numbers, it should be written in numeral form, it should be written in words form. Rather, if they are of 3 numbers, obviously it will be written in numerals. Third, if a number is followed by a unit of measurement like inch, kilo, so in that condition kilogram, use numerals in that case. For example, 4 tablespoons of honey, I have not used FOUR in place of that, this is wrong. In the same way, 60 mph or 200 ppm etc. is absolutely right. I have not used 60 like this, which is absolutely wrong. So remember that you all have to keep in mind, when we talk about unit of measurement while writing letters or anywhere else, you should remember that inch or kilogram or any kind of these things will be written in such a way. Plural S is not added to symbols and representing the units. Now in this case, is not added to symbols representing units of measurement. For example, 3 gram, 5 kg, 6 cm. Now in this condition, correct, this one is correct, absolutely right. But using S at the end, no, this is absolutely wrong, because it is indicating the singular unit. 3, no matter it is 500 kg, but you would not write 500 kgs. S will not be used over there. So, this is again a very important point which you all should ponder or think over. Further, moving straight towards the same thing, I would like to add that while presenting statistical data, use numerals. For example, 45% or 11 2 by 3. Now, in this case, while using statistical data, use numerals, which is again a very important point. Second, moving further, if the number identifies an entity, use numerals. Entity means room number 22, channel number 2 or DTH 16, DTH 16. So, I am not writing 16 in place of like this, right? Understood? So, you should keep that in mind that when a number identifies an entity, entity means if it is giving you an idea of a single proper noun, that will be written in the same manner, 16. When a phrase with a number is used as adjective before a noun, use hyphen and use a singular noun. Now, for example, 3-mile journey. Now, looking at this 3-mile journey, and I am not using miles over here. Again, the same point that I told you, kilograms will not be written as kgs. Remember this thing, kgs will not be written. Now, in this further case, a 5-year contract, it will not be written 5 years, which is absolutely wrong. Then, or a 10-day celebration. Now, it is not 10 days celebration, which is absolutely wrong. So, you all should read or keep in mind that when talking about phrase with a number is used as adjective before a noun. Then further, while talking about two reference, two numerals referring to two different entities come together, use words for one of them or rephrase the sentence to separate the two. For example, there were 6-year-old. Now, 6 and 3 come together. Am I supposed to use 6 and 3 in a numeral form? No. You should keep that in mind that 6 will be written, the first numeral will be written in, the first number will be written in numeral form and the second one will be written in the words form. Remember my dear friends, when two numerals come together or two numbers come together, the first one will be written in numeral form and the second one will be written in the words form. So, fractions less than 1 should be spelled with singular nouns. This is again a very important point. For example, 0.75 inch is correct and 0.75 inches is incorrect. Understood everyone? Is that very clear to all of you? Because all these things should play or they play a very important role when you write any piece of work. Any piece of work may be letter or any other thing. Moving further, time expressions. Time expressions, a colon or full stop is used between the hour and the minutes. For example, 5:30 p.m. will be written like this. For indicating the hour, we use 2 p.m. like this. For currency, use numerals rupees 3,500. American, I would like to highlight this point. American format, just have a look over here. American format says 3,455,300. This is 3,455,300. Whereas British format, which we generally follow, is 34,55,300. So, in this case, unit, tens, 100,000, 10,000, lakhs and 10 lakhs, 34. So, this is the pattern which we generally follow. Being an Indian, we generally follow British pattern. So, remember, this is the distinction between British and American way of writing these numerals for talking about currencies. Billion means 1,000 million in America and 1 million in England. Remember this thing. So, I hope this letter writing module or this letter writing lecture would certainly be very helpful for you to learn new things and to forget some old things, because we have really updated ourselves gradually. Like we have forgotten the Victorian verbosity and the formal English. So, it has paved way for our new way of writing the things and to the current trend of plain English. and is clear, concise, correct, unambiguous and fluent. So, and even at the end I would like to add up that the wallpaper English is overloaded with jargons, which is not the call of the day right now, which is not the call of the day. So, one must avoid using jargons, because if a person is from different background, the readers, you should know the readers whom you are writing. So, believe me, if you are going to concentrate on your audience, on the readers, you can be a perfect writer. Writing is an art of expressing our views, ideas and thoughts in a very impressive manner. It fosters our ability to explain and to express ourselves in a very beautiful manner. It not only actually serves as a permanent record of anything that could be referred in future, but it sharpens the creativity. It sharpens the creativity and imagination of any person. It lays the foundation of the professional arena. So, if you want to be a part of any professional field, believe me that writing skills are really very important. Further, while talking about different projects and further talking about the opportunities that you are going to get after getting an excellence in this course, you must learn or you will get an opportunity in several Google projects. Google projects like Nipun Bharat, Stride UGC, FLN, etc. If you talk about companies, believe me, many companies will approach you directly for creative and technical writing. Now, in this case, for technical writing, we have different private companies as well as public firms as well along with it. For example, WriteWrite, eStorytellers, then Page Traffic, Godot Media, then Aditya Bhaskar, several others are there, Ninja Pixel, Global IT and HuffTop, Teltop, Spark, etc. Then while talking about publishers, we have different publishers who are going to approach you if you would be a very good creative writer and technical writer. In that case, many publishers, no matter it will be Pearson, Springer or Penguin Random House, Hachette or HarperCollins, Simon, Macmillan, Stulcher, anyone. So, be ready with your writing skill that would be persuasive. Like, it depends on your way of dealing with things. Have you ever believed or thought about the word selection that you go through? It completely depends on your way of reading, on your way of dealing with things. Now, in this case, we are going to discuss 4 styles of writing, where the selection of words would be persuasive, would be narrative, would be expository and descriptive. So, it depends on your way of dealing with things, how much importance you are giving to that writing material. In that condition, persuasive will be having a kind of persuasion, or you could try to compel someone for some kind of thing. For example, if you are talking about a scholarship program and you are asking for the same thing, it must have a persuasive style of dealing with things. And then further, if it is writing something in a very detailed manner, then it may have the narrative style of describing the things. Like, for example, if I talk about storytelling or something like that, you can incorporate the storytelling in your letters while using the narrative skills as well. Then expository would be dealing with different expressions that are related to the writing skills. Then descriptive, again it must have a very detailed description of anything. So, with these things you all will be a perfect and honed your skills of writing. With this, you all can perform well in your exams and on every stages where you would be challenged on the basis of your writing and your thinking skills. So, be ready for everything that comes up in your mind and try to jot down, write every day, no matter it be incorrect or correct. Try to jot down all those points in a form of paragraphs, and bits by bits you will learn to congregate all those ideas together so that you can be a perfect writer. And in that perfect writing skills, remember that you may get ample of opportunities. no hurdle, no obstacles, no barriers would be there in your journey, in your successful journey. And right from the beginning, one must get the exposure of reading every now and then. Harry Potter, series of Harry Potter could be a very nice example or very nice initial stages reading work, where one must try to come up with reading part, with learn that reading part through that Harry Potter series, because that is full of fantasy, and students, they get interacted, they get interested in that particular thing. They try to correlate those characters with themselves. So, these things are really very important. When you try to come up with good reading skills, that will lead to good writing skills. And with this, you can very easily perform well in your exam. These are few points that one must forward or one must concentrate upon while writing. Focus on your grammar, focus on the vocabulary, focus on the format that we have given. Then last but not the least, you should use an appropriate words at a proper place, because efficacy of words in global business matters a lot. You all will be a perfect writer. So, with this note, I would like to add up and tell you that practice writing, and writing is a craft that requires both talent and acquired skills. You learn by doing, by making mistakes and then seeing where you went wrong. So, in this case, you have to learn a lot. When I talk about listening, speaking, reading and writing skills, you all should know that this is the perfect idea where one should learn, first of all, to read, and then further to express himself in a proper manner. That will come through listening. If he is listening in a proper manner, that person will be able to write well. And if that person has the idea after listening and after speaking, that person can write well on his own. So, listening, speaking, reading and writing skills, all these 4 skills are very important while talking about the learning process. Now, at the end of my lecture, I would like to conclude that throughout my lecture, you people have learned the difference between letter writing, formal letter and informal letter writing. Then further moving up to the format, there are certain nuances which person should follow and hone the skills while concentrating on these grammatical nuances, vocabulary, the style, the indent, how to write date, and then specially talking about the numbers. Writing numerals is again a very important point that you have learned throughout this session. I think this particular lecture would be a kind of boastful learning process for you, because believe me, everyone, moving straight towards your goal, you must have a goal in your life. With a small piece of writings every day will certainly lead to that one. So, don't ever leave any point untouched, because you are the king of your own future. You are the king maker of your own future. If you won't develop that kind of thirst in your brain or thirst in yourself to achieve the heights, you would not be able to do anything in that condition. So, with this note, letter writing is again a very important piece of work which everyone should concentrate and ponder upon. Thank you, and these are the references that I have already referred to. So, with this note, I am Dr. Divya Gupta signing off and just bidding you best wishes for your writing skills. Thank you.
Hello, I am Professor A.K. Sharma and I teach sociology in IIT Kanpur. I am taking up a question what is world population crisis? World population crisis refers to explosive growth of population which occurred during 1950s and 1960s. For millions of years, some people estimate that perhaps man appeared on this planet Earth 5 lakhs years ago. It took these 5 lakhs years for world population to reach first billion in 1820 AD, and that means that the population in ancient times must have been rising at rate 0.000 something percent per year. Now, in 1950s and 1960s in the world, you find that population started growing at rate more than 2% per year. This is what is meant by population crisis. You can imagine that if a population grows or anything grows at 2% per year, then in about 35 years time it can double. And obviously, particularly in the context of less developed countries, it had implications for poverty removal, for employment generation, for maintaining health, improving life expectancy, raising educational levels, etc., etc. The reason behind this population crisis was improvement in life expectancy or improvement in general health standards of populations. You may not be knowing, or you will be surprised to know that about 100 years ago in our country, life expectancy means average age of death or average age of life, whatever you say, of a newly born child was only 20 years, and today it has reached the level of 68 years. Much of this improvement in less developed countries occurred in 1950s and 60s, and therefore, with improvement in health, improvement in life expectancy or average age of birth, average age of death, and population started growing at explosive rates, and people started writing about this. This is population explosion, or this is population crisis. And now one can say that the period of peak growth rate is over, and from 1971 onwards in the world as well as in our country, growth rate of population has started declining. In India, you may like to know what is the current growth rate of India's population. Currently, India's population is growing at 1.5% per year, and the reason is that after sudden or unexpected improvement in health conditions in 50s and 60s, which led to population crisis, we find that today average number of children has also started coming down. So, there was a time when average number of children per woman was around 11 or 12, now it has come down to 2.5, and therefore, the growth rate of India's population has come down to 1.5%, and we can hope that in the future, means in the coming decades, even if nothing changes on the front of fertility or number of children, India's growth rate of population will decrease further and eventually come to a zero level, as said by the 11th 5-year plan of India. And now the major cause of high growth rate of population is not high fertility, but the age distribution of population. So, we have a high percentage of population at the younger ages, and that is the cause of high rate of growth of population. Eventually, when population of India will also age like population of other developed countries, our growth rate will start falling. Thank you. Now, we will meet in the future.